Okay, welcome everyone back to your favorite program on YouTube, the Stationery Fetishist. Now I'm pleased to report that I've just returned from a trip to the Iberian Peninsula, and on that trip I visited Portugal. Now, as you probably know, Portugal is home to one of the European pencil manufacturers by the name of Viarco. So knowing this before my trip, I did intend to see if I could find something in Portugal that I could bring back and share with you all. Now, I did find a papelaria, as they call them in Portugal, but a stationery store in English, called Papelaria Fernandes, and I did go in there, looked around a bit. However, I didn't really find any pencils that were made by Viarco. There were pencils from other manufacturers, I'll show you those shortly, but the only thing I could find by the Portuguese manufacturer was a set of fragranced pencils, or pencils that were scented with certain fragrances. Now, honestly, they weren't really something that I was too intrigued by, so I left them behind. Unfortunately, I didn't get anything by Viarco at this particular papelaria. So I will show what I did, in fact, purchase at Papelaria Fernandes. First off, a very simple pencil. I guess it's the European equivalent of the classic yellow school pencil. It does have the eraser, which I was intrigued by. I believe I've seen these Norris pencils without the eraser, but because this had the eraser, I thought I'd grab it, just to add to the collection. Now, as you can see, it's made in Germany, distinctly labeled there. It's from Staedtler, HB number 2 pencil, and unlike the North American ones, it's not just a solid yellow on the shaft. It is lineated with a contrasting black color. Light colored wood, basswood or something like that, I'm not too sure. Not much fragrance I can pick up just off the top there, but it's a cool, basic European school pencil. Secondly, something in a similar vein, we have a Bic Evolution. And if you can see there, it's HB number 2 as well. It does indicate France on there. Now, I know companies recently have been kind of, you'd normally think that that would indicate that it's made in France, but, there's ways they can kind of say, no, it's not saying it's made in France. It's part of our name. We call ourselves Bic France or something like that. However, it's not located right by the Bic, so perhaps it is, in fact, made in France. But I'm always a little bit skeptical nowadays that the name of the country doesn't necessarily indicate the place of manufacture. So back to the details of this pencil. Very simple green, which is always nice on the shaft there. No finished end, just raw end there. And it's kind of a darker wood, more reddy. However, I'm very doubtful that that is cedar. It's not giving off much of a smell. I suppose if I sharpened it, it might give off more of a fragrance, but I'm not going to do that. But I doubt it's cedar, I really do. But I don't have a Bic pencil in the collection, and I'm happy to have acquired that. And lastly, the last pencil that I got at Papelaria Fernandes, not a pencil per se, but you've seen me review you've seen me share a couple of Japanese pencils similar to this. It's basically half blue and half red, and I do use these types of pencils in my job for, marking things, as it were. Now this one, interestingly, only the blue end is sharpened, but you can see at the end there that it is red on the other side. Quite interesting. And another interesting thing to note, I should mention that this is a Faber-Castell and flip, Janus 160. If you notice there, for some reason, some of the text is facing one way, some of the text is facing another way. Well, I suppose perhaps it's because you're sharpening each end, so you can read something if you're using the red end, you can read something else if you're using the blue end. Perhaps. Anyway, it's quite an aesthetically pleasing pencil with these alternating bands of red and blue there. Quite lovely, quite lovely. Quite lovely, I must say. Now, I mentioned that I didn't find anything by the Portuguese manufacturer Viarco at Papelaria Fernandes. So I was a little bit disappointed about that. I'm not going to lie to you. So I did Google it on my iTelephone to see if I could find anywhere in the city which sold pencils by Viarco. So a Google search did lead me to a blog post which led me to this shop. It is called A Vida Portuguesa Desde Sempre. Anyway, this was quite a cool store. It showcased items, not just stationery items, but household items, things like that, fragrances, etc., that were manufactured in Portugal. It was a really nice store, and I'd recommend going there if you're in Lisbon. They have a few locations. Anyway, I made a special trip here because they do, in fact, carry the Viarco pencils. So let's open up our nice bag here and see what we've got. Now, as a nice transition from the previous section of the video, we have another blue and red pencil to add to the collection. Something about these really appeals to me. Generally, I prefer just basic graphite pencils, but these double-ended ones really appealed me. I didn't even know that they existed until I went to Japan and saw them there. But again, this one is actually a little bit thicker, and it's called the Viarco Commercial Professional. Quite aesthetically pleasing. They went a different route with the paint job on there, the colorway, as it were, going half and half as opposed to longitudinal lines of the blue and red, vermilion and Prussian blue, as they would say in Japan. And Viarco, made in Portugal. Next, we have a drawing pencil, Viarco Premium HB number 2. Quite nice. It's got the finished end there, matte black shaft, quite elegant looking, although the printing, the embossing is a little rough, I would say, but quite nice in general. Doesn't smell like a cedar, but a nice HB pencil to add to the collection, made again by Viarco. And lastly, this appears to be quite an elegant piece. It appears to be like a special edition or something. It comes in this nice sleeve. They also had a bundle of 6 or so in a nice band. I may have some footage I'll lay over if I took some video of that. Lapis Viarco. It's kind of got a retro vibe. I'm picking up a retro vibe on there. So maybe this is like a special edition reissue or something along those lines. Quite exquisite packaging. So let's go inside and see the pencil itself. Just going to make this a bit more aesthetic, as the children say these days. So, quite a nice deep red approaching burgundy. Not quite a burgundy, but maybe a dark rust, something like that. The Viarco 250 Diseño number 2. Now, it doesn't have a finished end as we generally know it. However, if you can see, it is slightly rounded at the end. It's not just flat cut as this one is here. There's a bit of a finishing. It's not painted, sealed on the end, but it is kind of nicely rounded off. Very aesthetically pleasing. An absolutely beautiful pencil. Appears to be the same wood as the drawing pencil there. Quite a lovely retro aesthetic that I'm getting from this. Quite lovely, quite lovely. All right. So that concludes the video of the items that I've brought back from Portugal. So I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, subscribe, follow me on Twitch, Tumblr, Tinder, etc. And we'll see you in the next episode. Very soon, very soon.
Vamos menos, por favor, venga. Então posso levar umas três. Três? Ok. E mais?